But now I want to turn to Tom Farrell. Tom is building, and this is his final segment building it, the Tom York design kit that's produced by Frenchman River Model Works of Becky Sue's House of Beauty. Tom, welcome.
Thank you for having me on the show. And so I'm doing Frenchman River Model Works, Becky Sue's House of Beauty. This is part 2 of 2. And Frenchman River Model Works is offering the New Tracks folks a 20% discount on this kit. You just go to their website and select the kit and enter in NEWTRX and you'll get 20% off. It's as you'll see, it turns out to be a very nice kit. It's a original Thomas Yorke, and anyone that's familiar with Thomas Yorke knows that he's an artist and one of the most famous kit makers in our hobby. And here's an opportunity to get a resin kit at a significant discount, and it's an original. It's a first run. So this is the Watch Me Build then of Becky Sue's House of Beauty. It's a new release, just came out. That's my finished kit. I'll show you how I got it from where we were last week to where we are, or to a finished kit. So this is where we left off. Basically, I had the 4 walls up, and I began detailing the front of the kit with these printouts. The next thing I did is I painted all the interior walls with a flat acrylic paint from a craft paint. You know, it's roughly $1 a bottle. It is the flattest flat that I've ever come across and sticks just fine to the resin. I created a heavy framework. They do give you wood for this, and they basically outline the perimeter 180 degrees. I do things a little overkill, perhaps, but I built a stout framework here. And they give you this cardboard here to the right, which would probably work just fine, particularly on this framework that I made. But I cut the cardboard to fit the roof section, and then I used it as a template to cut some styrene, approximately 020 styrene I used, and in place of the cardboard. And then I super glued that down to that framework that I put in. I'm always concerned that the, probably for no reason, that the cardboard will take on moisture and eventually warp. So, you know, while I'm at it, I just build up a heavy frame and I use styrene. Next up, I paint that styrene with that same acrylic flat paint. Even though we're going to provide or put a tissue over that provided by Frenchman River, but I paint it flat black because I don't want that, I don't want to see white below my simulated tar paper. So then I just take Elmer's glue and I just, right out of the bottle, I just basically squeeze it onto the roof. Then I take an inexpensive paintbrush, or a paintbrush I'm not real concerned with keeping, and I thoroughly spread this glue so it's on there fairly uniformly. And then they provided this tissue, it's black in color, and I just put that on the Elmer's glue, and it does a very effective job of simulating tar paper. It's a nice look. Next up, I went a little off the reservation with this, and I decided to put a fence around my building. I pre-stained scale 1x6 material for the actual fencing. Then I chopped them to approximately 8 feet in scale height Then I took scale 4x4s, and with these are hunter line stains that I have in favor now that I use. I stained it a blue-gray. These are the 4x4s. They're approximately 8 feet 6 inches in length. Um, and then the runners, and I'll show you how I put the fence together. They're 2x6s. So basically using 1x6s, 4x4s, and 2x6s. And this particular fence is 36 feet long. Now you're not going to see these runners, so I didn't see any point in making them like 8 feet long on this particular model. So the first thing I do is tape down two of the runners, hitting the high and low point. They're approximately they're 1 inch apart, which is 4 feet. And then I super glue the 4x4s to them. I just 1 inch apart, which is 4 feet on those as well. And then I go back and I put that third runner down the middle. So this goes, it's very fast construction. I typically super glue the ends, and then everything in the middle I use yellow glue. At least that's what I did this time around. And then this is the actual fence work. And just with a paintbrush, I take a lid, a vinyl lid from a jar or just a piece of paper, and I put out some yellow glue and a paintbrush, and I simply, at 1 inch at a time, I paint the glue on these runners, and then I just, with O scale, it's big enough and my fingers are nimble enough that I just stick them on one at a time. You can use tweezers. I put a little space between them. Once they're all on and dry, you can make this fence rustic and go back with an X-Acto knife and cut into the fence and put in knot holes or split some of these boards or whatnot. It depends how far you want to go with it. This time I behaved myself and basically had it in relatively good condition here. So there's that 36 foot in length, 8 feet high, 1x6 fence in place. These are approximately 4 feet apart. I simply hold the fence up, put super glue on each one of these bottoms of these 4x4s and place it in place. And then I will, as I'll show you, I'll put fencing on 3 sides here. Next up, I wanted basically the yard to be unkept. So I took Mark Wahlberg material and just cut this little square out, and I actually super glued it in place. That's right out of the package. No artistry on my part. Next up, a technique for putting signs on the building and on the fence. I just go to YouTube and I model in the, well, specifically 1930. So I do searches for 1920 to 1930 advertisements and billboards. Then I bring them into PowerPoint, and then I take those images and I copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, and make them 3 or 4 different sizes. And on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, I put maybe a half a dozen or more different signs on my PowerPoint. Then I print them out, cut them out, and you don't just glue the signs onto your structure or on the fence without, or what I do is I take a very fine sandpaper and I sand the back of them, and I make this very thin, this paper. So if you're looking at this, I flip it over after it's cut out. I typically chase the perimeter with a black permanent marker. And then I take a very fine, like a 300 or 400 sandpaper, and I carefully uh, sand the back to make it as thin as possible. I sand it till I basically can see the ink. So there's very little paper here, particularly on the edges. And that gives you a very nice look, almost like a decal. So you can see the black outline, at least on some of these that I bothered to do that. This is a nice technique. I've also toyed with, I have used decals and put them on. You almost get the same result with feathering the paper. I glue them on with Elmer's glue. I paint the back of these. I paint the back here with, I squeeze Elmer's glue onto there and then I paint it with a paintbrush, thoroughly cover it with Elmer's glue, white glue, and then I place it on the building or the fence. The same technique on this side of the building. There's additional fence. I should point out that the kit comes with decals. I chose to just put some of my own, but it had some very nice decals on there. One thing that I did do on the sidewalk is I went back with, again, my friend Elmer's glue, and I painted a little Elmer's glue here on on the seams, the edges, the joints of the concrete. And then I went back and I sprinkled ground cover on the joints to basically show that this is, well, that's more realistic rather than just having straight up concrete. I didn't do it on the front of the building, assuming that's where people are walking and they just might take care of that. But on the side of the building, I thought, let's put a little weeds growing here against the side of the building and on these joints. You can see here I added some roof detail. This air conditioning unit came with the kit. I primered it with Tamiya light gray primer, a non-filling primer. Then I painted it black, flat black with a Tamiya flat black acrylic enamel. And then with Floqual old silver, I painted these screens. And then I went back with some washes and some pan pastels and rusted the framework here. This is nothing more than a brass or plastic tube that I drilled a hole in here, glued this tube in place, painted it black, and called that done. This is where it's going to fit on my layout. This is a Frenchman River kit that I did several months ago, the Mickey Spillane building. This is the unfinished portion of my layout. It's on the opposite side of what you've all seen to date. This is a scratch build hotel that I did about 10 years ago, the Broadway Hotel. And this is a resin kit from Frenchman River Model Works, excellent kit. And this is a companion kit from Frenchman River Model Works. So I'm going to have some kind of street here, and in front of it I'll have a depot. And this is a couple years out, but this is how it's shaping up anyway. That's the location. Of course, this will all be finished, but that's the look. Yeah. So here is the finished model. I've put the rear fence in place. I wanted to do all this work here before I put in the rear fence because it sort of blocks your way. Put some additional signs here. I weathered everything with pan pastels, and it's a very attractive little model, little kit. Um, Everything's weathered. I build everything on plywood. Um, I put a little side air conditioner on here. This came with the kit. There's a nice look of the signs. I should mention that after I glue them onto the either the brick here or onto the fence, once that glue dries, I go back with Dull Coat, which is available in bottle form, and I dull coat all my signs so they're basically sealed. Then I go back with pan pastels or chalk and I weather them, sort of knock the sheen off of everything between the flat dull coat and the weathered weathering chalks. It's a pretty striking look, really, you know. These are just, they cost nothing. They're right off my printer. There's the other side. Sometimes I place them haphazardly on here, like very nice kit. So thank you for watching, and I urge you to take advantage of the and support Frenchman River Model Works if you like to see my work and see their kits. And like I said last week, if you're an armchair model railroader and you haven't built something in a while, and even if you're not an O scaler, try this resin kit out. Remember, resin kits are relatively easy to put together. It's all in the finishing, and they can be quite entertaining. So thank you for your time. Yep. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Tom? Gotta ask you, Tom, what'd you put in the backyard?
I put an old tire and an old bicycle. And I was debating on putting a rusty old swing set. I think that's going to be the finishing touch.
Tom, what color did you paint the facade on the front?
I sprayed the facade with chalk white, and then I used a pan pastel, like a burnt umber or one of the browns, and I dulled it down.
Okay,
But a Krylon chalk white, and then just a flat Tamiya acrylic enamel for the black.
thank you. Nice job.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Tom. You have a great holiday.
Talk to you guys later. Yep.